afternoon. We're back with an AMG live episode. It's myself and the collector, the Scallops Collector of the People, Steve. How are you this afternoon?
I'm actually doing well because I'm going to issue a challenge to Heartland here. Uh,
Mm,
I'm just basically going to call him out, so he has no choice but to do it.
excellent.
So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be
Yeah,
exciting. So we're gonna kind of hang out here and chat. So I always mention it to the chat. It's helpful if there's a little bit of interactivity if you want to participate in it. No giveaways this time around. Didn't have anything organized, but I do kind of have like a mini announcement. Right now, Brad and obviously Sherry, they wear many hats as it is, and there are going to be more hats added to some of the things that are going on. So anything related to that they can talk about on their own time. But what that does mean though is that Sherry does not have the bandwidth to be able to move back and forth between a couple of different things. And Steve obviously is here and I'm here. And then the podcast episode, we've already got that kind of figured out. But this is going to be the last of these live streams for a while. It's not meant to turn off forever, but at the same time, right now, there just isn't the bandwidth to do it. So if they do decide they want to come back and do it, then that's something we can figure out and arrange. But in the meantime, I respect that decision. And right now, given what I know about what they're taking on, I'm not surprised. Let's put it that way.
yeah. No, it breaks my heart. I'm actually enjoying the lives, but yeah, Brad and Sherry have so much on the go, and poor things. They both had colds and illnesses the last 7 to 10 days, so hopefully they get to feeling better soon. But yeah, definitely, it's it's incredible the things that they have going on in their lives right now. So I understand, but well, I'm sure we'll be back at some
Yeah.
point. But yeah, this is next 6 months. They got a lot on the go.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot. So it's one of those things. Like I said, we'll let you know if anything like that happens. The podcast episodes are going to continue because we discussed that. I kind of went over it with them. It's like, well, do you still want to do that? So my intention, just letting you know in advance, my intention is to keep recording the podcast episodes the same day that we've been doing it. So that seems to work for us. And then I'll drop them on Wednesdays. So like today's the episode for this week has already been recorded. So we already, Steve, myself, and Bonus Player already did an episode earlier today where we talked about a couple of issues that came in, the PWHL as well as Goodwin Champions. And we talked about both of those. So we already had a conversation about that. So that episode's recorded. I've already edited and everything on my end, took care of that. So I'm going to have it uploaded on the channel and you should see it on if you're following the YouTube channel, I recommend subscribe to it. If you're following it, you will get it tomorrow. A full episode. I think we almost went just shy of 40 minutes. So we actually had a full episode, showed off some cards, talked a little bit about it, and we definitely got you'll get your money's worth on that podcast episode. That's expected to continue.
Yep, and just touching on that, the PWHL that's being released tomorrow, and it's a very limited supply. So, like we mentioned on the podcast, it will be like one per household. And ideally, I don't think it's a super high end product. It looks like it might be more of a test product. They wanted to get
It's kind of flagship level, but with like a PWHL slant.
So, hopefully those, like we've had a lot of, whether it's female hockey players or dads and their daughters come in looking for it. So hopefully, where it's one per household, they'll be able to get in and grab one. So, again, you don't want to wait too long because surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of it. So, which leads me to believe, it was just a shorter print run.
There you go. So Gotham's here. Thank you for joining in. Go Sens Go. Eric is here. Jeff is here. Hello, Jeff. Rob's here. Steve holds it all together. It's all truth. Steve is the pillar. Steve is the pillar. Sign says RIP AMG Live. Like I said, we'll try to bring it back. We'll try to bring it back. But right now, I like I said, we know kind of what they're taking on. And I was like, all right, guys, any more hobbies or any more things you want to, any more jobs you think you want to have? Steve, you need another job or two or three?
I pretty much just look at Brad and shake my head sometimes. Like, what are you guys doing? But no, you can never say Brad and Sherry don't work hard. So they've earned everything that they've got coming to them. So, and that could be a good thing or a bad thing. But
I was going to say that could be interpreted a couple different ways, Steve.
Yes, but no,
how spicy do you feel on that one?
Yeah. So, but they've Brad and Sherry work hard. I'll give them that.
Yeah, well, either way, we'll keep in touch with them. And Rob already knows that I do my live streams. Live streams are kind of my bread and butter on my YouTube channel. We have a little bit of fun with it. It's very lighthearted. Obviously, this is a little bit more formal. We have a little bit of fun with it. So that one a lot less. Let's just say a lot less. See, Eric's all over it. And fortunately or unfortunately, Eric is involved in some of those live stream endeavors. So I'm just saying.
Was he talking to that Brad and Sherry were lazy or that Carlos is lazy?
Oh, listen, Eric already knows.
Did he just receive a nice gift from Brad and Sherry not too long ago?
listen, all I have to say about that, Steve, is ungrateful swine.
Mm-hmm.
That's Eric's middle name.
How quickly
See?
they forget. Yeah.
This man likes to court very dangerous forces because while I am a man of peace, I can be brought to violence and horror, and Eric knows this, and he still wishes to trifle with those forces. Okay, do what you're gonna do. Whistle through the graveyard, see what happens. We'll find out. So anyway, like I said, we'll hang out a little bit. We'll chat. Hopefully, if you have any thoughts or questions or anything you want to ask, feel free. We can definitely do that. But there is a lot, going on over here. A lot of moving parts. I will keep in touch. Obviously, I'm going to keep going back and forth with Brad and Cherry, and depending on what's going on and what they want to do, I still want to keep the YouTube. Like I said, we'll keep the podcast going as it's been going, and maybe we'll just expand a little bit of the scope of it. We'll take advantage of the fact that we still have that, and we can use it for any questions or thoughts, or I'll bring some more topics to the table. So hopefully it serves you and offers you something. And I'd still like to do some things here and there. I'll talk to Blair and see if there's maybe some small things we can still include on the YouTube channel to give it a little more value, even beyond just the podcast. We'll put our heads together and think about it, because I still want it to be something. It was fun doing these, but at the same time, obviously, it's a time commitment. So that's kind of the big thing. It's hard to make sure everybody's ready to go and scheduled every week. But if there's something else we can do on the channel to make it worthwhile, we'd like to do that. Gotham says Brad and Sherry are amazing. Sens material they are. I just appreciate that you're back on the Sens bandwagon, because we were noticing for a while the Go Sens Go wasn't there. And then this one we read your last message, so we can see that it's kind of eased its way back in.
Well, I've actually started to see this particular gentleman on the other side of the floor here in the store. He's been leaning into the Pokemon a little bit, so I don't know if the Senators have some Pokemon cards, but yeah, he seems to be hanging over there a little bit more than usual.
All right. Now, since it is this week, I'll do the reminder. You do have a trade night and a card show this weekend. So on the Friday trade night, and then the card show will be there also in the mall. So anybody who's in that vicinity, you can check it out. Dates and times, check out the social medias. It's all there. It is the usual times. Like if you're familiar with the trade night and card show, it is the usual hours. But check out the social media. You will get reminders. So that is going to be part of it as well.
Yeah, and also too, before Brad comes on, I'm going to throw him under the bus here and challenge him that we do have the WWE Flawless coming out, and I'm going to put him on the spot and inform him that he's going to have to open up a box of the WWE Flawless Friday night at trade night. So he may still say no, but I think he's going to do it. I was trying to recruit a couple guys that you really want to get 3 or 4 guys to go in on this, because it is pricey.
Ideally for that product, yes.
Yeah.
Ideally for that product,
so I think I might have recruited a couple, and I'm going to get Brad on it, because he down deep, he really does like the WWE product as well, or wrestling in general. So yeah, so Friday night at trade night, definitely it will make it interesting to open a box of that, and I'll probably take the suitcase and hit someone over the head with it, just like Money in the Bank.
As you should. And I'll say once we are going to have Brad join us in a couple of minutes. When he does, I'll actually expand. We'll talk a little bit about there was a CSC card show and kind of anime, K-pop. We'll explain it more once he's here. But it was called the CSC FanCon. It happened at the International Center, same location as the Expo. They used 2 of the halls, Hall 3 and Hall 4, I believe, which was interesting. That's part of what led to curiosity. But specifically, and I'll share this part of the story since it involves myself. The only reason I was really there, specifically, I had looked into it, but I wasn't really sure about it. Big reason I showed up was because Luke was actually going to be down there. And Luke had actually taken care of my PSA submission for me. And he actually let me know that he was going to be down. So when he told me that, I said, you know what? I gave it a thought. I slept on it. And I said, you know what? Don't ship it. Bring it down, and we'll take care of it. We'll square everything up. So he was nice enough to fly down, but he also brought my cards with him. So I was able to do that. So I had a good reason to be there, which was good. It worked out great. I was able to chat with Brad, Sherry, Luke, Kevin from Katie Collectibles. Bobby Burrell was there. So we were able to have some fun, have a good conversation. It was nice. And actually, I'll show it here. I'm going to open it on my YouTube channel. But my favorite thing, Steve, was I got a box of 2001 Topps XFL.
Oh, boy.
Almost as fancy as WWE Flawless, but not quite.
Didn't they have a player, I think the back of his jersey?
He hate me. Yes. Yes.
I love
Steve,
that.
Steve, that's what I'm going to be opening that box on my channel. Steve, that's what I want. I want the He Hate Me card. Yes, I'm looking for the He Hate Me card. There are. I was one of few people on this planet that can truthfully say they watched most of the games for the inaugural XFL season. I did actually watch those games.
I'll give you that title.
Yeah, there very few. Now, let me tell you, there wasn't a lot, but I'll say, look, I knew how dumb it was. I enjoyed the silliness of it. I got a kick out of it. So for me, it's actually gonna be some nostalgic memories because I will probably remember a good chunk of the names here, at least for the brief time window they had there.
How much did that set you back? 10, 15
It
bucks?
was $40. $40.
Boy, you really like that league.
Well, Steve, you know what? And this could actually be a quick conversation point. I remember the days that at a card show, junk wax was like a $10 box, a $5 box. I've been to the expo the last couple of years. Steve, that's gone.
Yeah,
Like
it's
the
creeping up.
junkiest of junk wax is like 25, $30. It's like, I'm sorry, this one at least you can pull autographs and memorabilia in it, you know. The only really good players that I think, He Hate Me is entertaining, but Tommy Maddox had a run with the Pittsburgh Steelers, if memory serves me. So he actually had a little bit of success after the league.
I think a lot of that junk wax too. It's gone up a little bit in price.
It
as
has.
well because people don't ship it like they used to because shipping prices have got so much that now locally, you can tack a few more dollars on it because it's usually staying local when you sell it now. So yeah, things that we might add $5 or $10 on, they might be 20 now because if you were shipping it, you'd have to pay 40 for shipping. So locally people don't mind the extra $5 or $10 on it. But some of that stuff too is it's getting old. It might be junk wax, but it's 30, 40 years old now.
Well, that's exactly it, and that's become kind of the problem. Is that it was fine when it was like $5 or $10. I loved. I'll give you an example. I loved opening rack packs and boxes of 87 tops. I enjoyed the wood grain borders and all that. But you could get it like when I'm saying it was junk wax, like a rack pack, which is almost like 3 wax packs at that point. You could get it for $1. Like literally $1. So you could grab a small stack of them and have like the equivalent of like 24 packs, grab 8 of them. That's $8. That's not a big commitment in terms of dollars. So even at $40 in today's dollars, like I'm thinking back to the 90s. So in today's dollars, Steve, that is the equivalent of like a $20 box from 25 years ago.
I also think too, and it does nothing for me, but some people really get excited about all those error cards from the 90s and that. So they pursue those. So I think some of the junk wax has gone up because people want this error and that error, but I don't know how many errors there are. I just know there's a lot, and they don't. I know there's a few that are super tough, but once or twice a week, guy will come in with it says bats right-handed instead of left-handed, and is this an error? And sure, it's an error, but I don't. Then of course you do some research on the internet, and you'll see some crazy asking prices. But yeah, just because it's an error doesn't mean it is valuable. But there are a few exceptions. But some people love it. Some people, that's what they collect, is error cards.
I agree. And one more thing I'll add just to the related to that. The way I'm looking at it at this point, Steve, like when it comes to a lot of stuff, $40 is now what it costs to buy a blaster.
True.
So like in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I because I remember the league, I'll have some fun with the equivalent of a blaster. That's not too bad in today's dollars, considering what some of the boxes can go for. I'll have some fun with it. I did quickly look it up. So Tommy Maddox, after his run in the XFL, because he was on the championship team. I think it was the LA Extreme. So he was the quarterback for them. He played 2 full seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looks like he was the starter for the 2 seasons and racked up 38 touchdown passes and almost over 6,000 yards in the 2 seasons for the Pittsburgh. So at least he had a little cup of coffee in the NFL after and was able to at least have some success in the NFL.
Didn't He Hate Me? I thought he might have had a cup of coffee too.
He played a little bit. So I know he had a little bit in the NFL. Tommy Maddox had like I said 2 seasons with the Steelers where he was basically the starter, so that was a pretty good run for him. And I believe I want to say Sean Avery. There was an Avery there. I think he played in the CFL and actually won a Grey Cup with Toronto. So some of these guys at least had a little bit more beyond just the one appearance in the league. So like I said, I'll take a trip down nostalgic lane opening up those boxes, and maybe we'll get a He Hate Me. Crossing my fingers. We'll give it a go. So in the CSC show, that was one of the things. I didn't have any set plan, but when I saw that, I got a kick out of it. I just laughed. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm like, dude, $40 and I'll take it. All right, I'll take that. I did actually help Brad purchase a card that may pertain to wrestling. And when he shows up, we'll talk about it. We'll do the story. But Yeah, I have a little bit of fun with that stuff as well. I will say my opinion, and Brad can give his angle on it. One thing that I think was problematic though about it, I like the concept, but because they were using the International Center, I'm comfortable in saying that it probably cost them a fair bit to rent out the space. Um, but they didn't have a ton of dealers, so it was almost like two shows in one. You had like a card show in one hall that's like a, it wasn't like it was not a decent amount, but I think one of the dealers was complaining that he had kind of an end cap or a corner booth, and I think he said it was $1,400. So it's like very expensive tables for a relatively small show, even though it's at the International Center. It's a little awkward.
So they had sports cards and non-sport.
Yeah. So what they did is like the first section, the first hall had like your conventional dealers. Obviously they have Pokemon as well, but they had sports cards. So they did have some sports cards and all that. So like you almost had like a hall that had that. And then the other hall is open. You can go straight into it. That section had more anime. It had Pokemon and all that, but it also had cosplay. And you literally had the stage where they did signings there, but they also did a K-pop concert at one point, and they did like I think they were like doing like dramatic reenactments in their cosplay, and they had a the jumbotron behind them, and they're doing. And I'm sitting there like, this is a show that's trying to figure out what it is, and it's like two things happening. They literally call it a collision kind of thing, but it's like, guys, you're trying to do two things that operate in two different worlds at the same time, and mushing them together with duct tape. It's weird.
I'm not at the cosplay level yet, but if it makes them happy, I'm happy for them. 'Cause, yeah,
I think both shows can be successful, but I think you were trying to do two shows and smushing them together.
mm,
And the where I think the difference came in is because you're using the more expensive venue, and you were trying to smush these two worlds together. An Anime North or a Comic Con or those ones tend to be more expensive for entry than a regular card show because the pass for one day was $40. That's high for a card show.
yeah.
So I'm like, that's a little weird. That's very that I was like, this. And that's why I said like I wouldn't have gone if Luke hadn't had some cards for me. And that gave me a reason to go down because it's on the other side of town for me. I can get there, but
Right.
$40, I'm not doing that for like. I'm not sure how much of a card show this is.
And it was $40 to get
It
in.
was $40 for the 1 day entry. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a little pricey. Oh, Brad just walked by with the Red Bull, so he might be
All
headed
right,
to.
he's getting himself ready.
He
But
might
yeah,
be
so that was
headed
kind of my observations. I wanted to kind of give a little bit of the lay of the land. I'll get Brad's take on it. But for me, as a showgoer, if I'm only interested in sports cards, you basically only gave me half a show, but then you charge me $40 entry for it.
Mm.
That's a bit expensive. I needed more tables to kind of. It still wouldn't be able to justify it though because I've been to pretty big shows that don't require that much entry.
How many
Uh,
tables do you think were there?
I want to say like 75, 80 in the card show part, maybe 100. I don't know. I don't. It wasn't a hall. I just don't feel like there was enough to justify it. And the dealers that were there, some of them had pretty good selection. I will say, like some of them I am familiar with, and they have decent stuff. But it was a little weird. I think it was very strange. Obviously, they always have Sluggers 55. He is very much with the CSC guys. He does a lot of stuff with them. Hit 'em High, who's based here in Ontario, has pretty nice selection of stuff. A couple of other folks have like pretty good showcases with interesting stuff. And it's not like you can't find good stuff there, but a lot of the regular stuff that you see there is going to be stuff you can see at any show. Like when I see a table and I see a lot of Future Watch autos and Young Guns and things like that, it's like I can find that at any card show anywhere. I don't need to pay $40 admission for that.
Right. Is that the first time they did the show at the exhibition?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. Yeah, because usually they do it. There's a Mississauga Convention Center here, and I've been to that version of the show. They do a similar kind of thing, but at the Mississauga Convention Center, the entry fee is much less, so you can kind of get away with it. It's like, yeah, that's fine. So you kind of go to the section that you want to go into, and they've done the K-pop. But like I said, they're trying to be two things at once. So they do the K-pop, the anime, the cosplay, but then they had Matthew Nye signing for one of the days.
Hmm.
So you got a hockey player signing, but then you also have a K-pop concert.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
They'll work out the kinks.
I think they just have to choose an identity because I've seen them do a TCG kind of show separately and a card show separately. So it's like, guys, just mushing the two together doesn't necessarily make it work. I don't know. Seems like I give him credit for trying. Like I said, but I wouldn't have been there. Like I said, if Luke didn't have something for me, I wouldn't have been there. But at least I got my XFL box out of it. So something. I don't know. Rob's asking a valid question. Do you feel safe in this chat, Eric? Eric is never feels safe. His life is in constant danger. Very troubling, very problematic. I don't know what to tell you. So let me ask this. Obviously, with a lot of these new products coming in, I think it's going to be interesting. You talked about on the podcast, we talked about that Pokemon sale went off. You were able to keep the crowds under control, so that was good. How are things feeling as we crossed over into the new year? Things kind of ramping up or have been consistent? How's it feeling on your end?
I think I like where things are. They're just staying nice, and it's not. I mean, the Christmas rush was insane. We noticed we like even would sell things that we normally didn't sell. So I don't know if people were panicking and they just needed to find something, but we had some products when we were doing our inventory that, you know, the number hadn't changed in a while, and then our post Christmas inventory, we're like, wow, we sold all of it or 6 boxes or whatever it may be. But now I like where prices are on cards, and some of them are, you know, you got to be a little more aware. Some it's just dictated on the week the player has. So there's a few guys now from week to week they're going up and down. So I like the guys that follow it. They kind of come in and try to catch me off guard and stuff. And there's deals in that showcase. We got a lot of cards. You can only check pricing so often. So I kind of get a kick out of those guys that are trying to beat me at my own game. But I like where the pricing is on a lot of the goods and the cards right now. So, and then now there's just going to be some more releases coming out, the next few months. So, yeah, I think the hobby's in a good place right now.
What's going on?
There he is.
What's going on, fellas?
Oh, nothing. We weren't talking about you.
I couldn't hear a thing as I was packing up boxes for shipment.
Well, you see, you got to work hard, Brad, because with all the hats you and Sherry are wearing, you're going to need to be working extra, especially as Steve was saying. Like we're hearing rumors of a big box break, massive, huge.
There is. If anybody wants, did you already say? Does anyone?
Well, I just said you're doing it.
He's committing you to something.
I'm committing you to doing it Friday night. I said there's a few people already that we're talking to a gentleman tonight. I think he's going to jump in, but I put it out there. Big event, trade night. The box is being opened. I'm not paying for it. Heartland is, and
so
we're paying it for there.
Carlos, you might want it. So it's $6,000, 2 boxes. We got Corey Walker's in. Jeff Jones will be in for sure. I'm in. Trevor Legg is in. So we have 4. We need more. We need more people.
How many spots are you trying to sell for that?
Well, as many as we can, because we just want to open it, but no one wants to pay. So the lower we just want to see what's in them.
Wonderful. Well, look, we can talk offline. If the price point gets to a level where but I would love to know how you plan on splitting that up, because that in itself would be very funny. I don't know how you'd manage that. It is possible. Like, it obviously can be done. But Battle Royal, sure. So real quick, Brett.
Do you know?
I can tell you.
I think there's usually, if it's similar like the basketball, that there's usually like the 3 individual cards, and then you get the little box, and that usually has like 5 or 6 cards in it. So
yeah, I believe if memory serves me, that sounds about right. But it's like basically you got like four little sections inside of the case. I'll give you the exact. We don't have to guess. I'll
the
give you the
briefcase looks awesome though. I can't wait to beat someone over the head with it. It's great.
Okay, so to answer, so the way it works, Brad, is that you have 10 cards in each box. So there are 10 cards. So it's broken up into the sections. You've got 2 gem cards, and the other 8 are autographs or memorabilia. So basically, it's 10 and 10. So if you talk about 2 cases, you're basically talking about, 2 boxes, you're talking about a total of 20 cards.
So $300 a card.
That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm saying. So I'm sitting there like, that's a very spicy meatball there, Harlan.
I'm glad I didn't commit to open that.
Listen. I've already opened 2 boxes of AEW Black Diamond, and already like flames are still here from that. Like, I actually think I might have the world record. I might have opened the 2 worst boxes in recorded history of this. I actually didn't think Billy was capable of such horrors, and he and I are going to have words.
Yeah,
they're not going to be very pleasant words. I may Brad, I may not be a man of peace when we have these words.
It'll be fun though, because like I said, we usually it's of course we're in the Arctic freeze right now. Hopefully the cold weather won't keep too many people away Friday, but I think we'll rally the troops, and it'll be fun to open that in front of, especially if there's lots of kids there too.
And Brad, I made it very clear, if any of these boxes end up being open, someone, I don't care who, had better be there with a camera. You need to get your money's worth out of this. Get a camera. Get somebody, I don't care who, somebody's got to be there recording it for posterity, and we get the footage on the channel. Let's get some mileage out of this, Brad. Like, you got to get something out of it.
I love it. Deal.
Yeah. One quick thing, Brad. So I was talking to Steve about the CSC show, the fan car. So I wanted to get your take on this because, so first, actually, just so we've got the theme. Let's follow the theme here for a second. I did assist you in purchasing a WWE card. Do you want to kind of give the story here a little bit, and we'll talk about the CSC show for a couple minutes?
Yeah, so I was looking for some cards to buy for the old personal collection, and we went by one table. The first table you bought a box, and I bought a '89 Flair Griffey cello pack with Griffey on the top. There you go, an XFL box. Yeah.
See, Steve knew about the legend of He Hate Me, so like he understands.
Yeah. So then we moseyed around, we talked, we got caught up talking with a bunch of friends and dealers, and then we went to another table, and I noticed Rhea Ripley Topps Chrome Rookie Auto Green. So that was out at 99. So we were trying to figure out comps on it. There wasn't really some sales like on the green at first that I found, and Carlos went into I think 130 point.
Yeah. It was on Terra Peak. It's just you have to search for the right wording. So the seller wasn't having too much luck. Brad wasn't having too much luck finding. I know the issue. I know the series. So basically, you got to really simplify the keywords. That's the only way you can find those things.
So we found it. So we were able to put a deal together. We told them what the comps were. I pretty much paid full comps, a little bit over comp, the last comp anyways. But I really believe in WWE it's already popular as could be, but I really think the cards themselves, and I love them. And I kind of became a huge fan of Rhea Ripley after seeing her at Fanatics Fest in New York. I knew she was a star in the WWE, but when she came out and I watched, thousands of people absolutely going bananas, more so than when Tom Brady and Gronk were out. And I mean, the roof blew off every time she made an appearance. And just watching her personality and how she handled herself, and now watching her in the ring, I just think she's a cool character. I think that got a long longevity. So to pick up her rookie card out of 99, it looked like a really clean card. I've already got it ready to send off to PSA, and hopefully I get a 10-10 on it, but it could be a 9-10, 8-10, but I'm keeping it anyway. So
she's been caught, and I don't watch wrestling like I used to, but I kind of saw her when she first started, and just like all the wrestlers, you have to find your persona. And I think I didn't necessarily like the character she was when she first came out. Now I think she's kind of found her groove, and she's extremely popular.
Would you go on a date with her?
Absolutely.
Yeah, attaboy.
I was going to say there is a large segment of the popularity stems from the answer Steve gave to that question. Yeah. So one thing that was kind of funny is that I was saying to Brad when we were there is that I remember buying a bunch of. I've probably owned 6 or 7 different Rhea Ripley autographs over time, and I've made money on every single one of them. Every single time I bought one, I've made money on it because she is that popular. But at one point, before she really started taking off, you could get it for like $30 or $40. Like, it was actually very affordable for a while. And what may help in the long run here, and this is not investment advice, y'all do you, whatever you got to do. I like this here. Uh-oh. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the updates. I love it. Appreciate you. But the thing that I think helped her a lot is that as she was elevating, they started really featuring her in everything. By that point, she was already a polished product, because at that stage, it's if they get used to it, they get their persona locked in, they get the entrance, the theme music, and all that. She's got all that locked in now. She's very comfortable doing it. She's still very young. All things considered, still very young, which means she could have a long runway if she wants to, and if they're comfortable with it, and they could do that. But what I think what's going to be next is right now she's back to having the championship again. That she's probably going to have a program, probably something at WrestleMania. All that's going to be part of it. I think, though, what helps also, kind of to your point about the rookie one, is that now that Fanatics is back in, that means the Topps license is back in. We already, I think, So I think the way it's going to work with the wrestling releases this week, I believe, is AEW Allure. From what I understand, I think I've heard confirmation that some places are shipping it. So that's one. And then next week or the week after is 2025 Topps Chrome WWE, which will be a big one. That's going to be their Fanatics re-entering into the space with that one. That'll be a big one because that has the Rock Auto. That's going to be one of the big draws. So, and they already sold out of the initial pre-order thing. My opinion, I think they were doing $160 per, which I think was intentionally low because they wanted to sell out super quick to build the hype. So I think that was the big thing for that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And did you see that the new Topps Chrome that they've been sending out a lot of teasers on that I've seen? Yeah. Those cards look great, and every one they sent out so far has been on card autos. I really hope they stick with that, and the majority of them are.
So far, so good on that. Yeah. They're pretty good about it. Some of the inserts, though, I'm a little iffy on, to be honest, because they're using like these generated images. They look a little good. I think Panini has done a lot of things weird, a lot of weird things that I'm very off on. But I think with the WWE license, they actually did a very good job. Like a lot of the inserts, a lot of the pictures they use. From what I understand, they did an interview with one of the guys that was helping design some of that stuff, and they were WWE fans. So it meant when they had a chance to go to the photo archive, they actually went deep into the photo archive and they looked like, hey, we want some cool action shots. We want, showcasing the talent in their best light. So then Prism became very popular. Immaculate did very well. So they had one like successful release after another. So now Fanatics is going to have to build off of that. I think they're starting strong though with Topps Chrome. Topps Chrome is a smart move to start off with.
I agree.
So I think we'll have some fun with that. Later on, Brad, I'll send you a link to one of my buddies on Instagram. He's a Rhea Ripley fan, and he actually has one of the Superfractors. He actually, oh yeah, and I think he's got the rookie Superfractor actually. So I think he's actually got himself a pretty good collection. So I'll send you a link so you can check it out. He's got some good stuff. So let's talk about the CSC show though for a couple of minutes. One of the things that we were chatting on is that because Luke had some cards for me for PSA return, that was the reason I was there. I want to get your impression. Obviously, you made the rounds. You talked to a lot of dealers. I did as well, and I was kind of hanging out with you for a little bit. But then I was also chatting with Steve Menzie, and it turned out to be a good networking opportunity to chat with some folks. But obviously, that was also a big thing you were doing. What was your impression though of what they were trying to do by combining this card show thing with kind of this cosplay thing? And also, what did you think of Bobby's Sailor Moon cosplay?
Yeah,
we can spread rumors. We can spread rumors, Brad.
100%. You know what? I'll wait until the pictures surface. I think we were.
All right, fair enough.
We're working on.
I think he's trying to bury them. I see the Burrell out there hacking into computer systems trying to get it out, but we'll see what we can do.
I do. I think I know where they're getting at to do with those shows, but I want to make sure. I guess I'm not a big fan of it. I love that we mix TCG with sports cards now in so many shows.
I think you have to. I think you have to though, because 100%. TCG is way too popular to ignore it.
Absolutely.
Ignore the Pokemons at your peril.
Yeah. But I think when we stretch out things into too many different things, like adding the cosplay, like that's a different world for most people. So when you have it all together, I'd sooner cards and memorabilia just stick together for shows and then have a separate show when you really get into the anime, etc. That's just my personal thought. But again, they pulled it off. It's a great venue. There's a lot of people, tons of people around everywhere. So I think it was a success for them. But my personal thoughts, I do like, again, and I love the TCG is mixing with sports cards because that gives just so many elements. You have a lot of, you have, I don't want to say it's just, obviously TCG is not just for kids, but you have a lot of dads that have kids in it. So they get to look at tables. The dads can look at some sports cards and memorabilia, WWE and golf and all these other things. So I love combining TCG and sports cards, but keeping it sports cards all together would be my priority when I go to a show.
I think that's fair. Now, kind of question on this. So let me get I gave kind of my take on this, but I'll ask you. Do you feel though, doing the International Center, kind of the way they did it, how did you, so two-part question. First, how did you feel about the size of the card show part of it? I tried to do a guesstimate, but I really wasn't, I had to try to think of how the size was. But then at the same time, if you were buying for one-day entry, it's $40 entry.
Yeah.
with nothing special. Like that's just out of the box. And then I think some of the boots were kind of expensive. So that's why I'm kind of curious, like because of the way they were trying to mix two things. If you're not into the anime, the K-pop, because like it's like half the show is cut off, and
Yeah.
then you got this other half. But then does this other half justify the entry fee price, which is
Yeah,
aggressive?
and it's true. Like, so we came in, me, Luke, and Sherry, and I paid for us, and it was $120 to get into the show because I paid for 3 people. So it did, in all honesty, it made me think the next day. Again, I wasn't feeling the greatest, and I was going to go back Sunday morning, but being a little bit under the weather still, I decided it was better for me to get some rest and stay in bed. But it did come into factor. I said to Sherry, maybe we'll just go over for like a half hour, an hour, poke our heads in before we get on our flight. And then I was like, well, that's going to cost us $80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, I know I'm not cheap, I don't think by any means, but that did cross my mind. Like it's a big ticket to pay. And
what I'm hearing is that you're going to buy multiple spots in the WWE Flawless Break.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But it is. That's a lot of money to pay. And I get that. And, we went through that with the card shows that we put on here in Halifax over the years. I remember when we introduced cover charge to help cover some of the costs.
Yep.
And it was a big deal for people when we put a $2 cover charge on it. Now at Bedford, AMG's decided there is no cover charge. It would be complicated to do because it is in a mall. In fairness, it wasn't just that decision, but it's great. And I've seen the amount of patrons that appreciate that. And that's going from $2 to free. And I bet I heard 10 or 15 people say, yeah, I love that it's no charge to come in and just walk around. And so, yeah, $40, I think maybe they should rethink that.
But that was the reason. The only reason I brought it up is I'm comparing it to other card shows.
Yeah.
If I compare it to an Anime North or I compare it to a Comic-Con, it's a different pricing structure. So it might make more sense for that. But the thing is, this would be the comparison that I struck. If I'm looking at a card show, I'm looking at it doesn't cost me $4 to go to the expo. Like, now in fairness, to be fair, obviously I have friends who who can get me a badge, so that helps. But even if I'm walking in the front door, just normally, like a regular person walking right in the front door, hi, I would like to buy a 1-day ticket to this. It does not cost me $40
Absolutely.
to buy a 1-day, and that's at the Toronto Expo.
Yeah.
It's also at the International Center. It's a much larger venue and much larger.
Hopefully,
setup.
it's cheaper for kids. I'm assuming, not if it's $40 and even if it's $20 for kids. That like
I had Luke and Sherry, and I had to pay full price.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
They can get it as minors. So
there you go.
But yeah, no, that is pricey. So hopefully, kids under a certain age were free, like under 12 or something, because you want to spend the day with your kids, like we were talking. Good mix of sports and TCG, so a little bit for everyone. But when you got to drop $120 to take your 2 kids in, it makes it difficult.
Yeah,
that's also a factor for the dealers, because think about it. That's $120 that you do not have to spend on the floor.
Yeah.
Like that's real. That's for if you're asking somebody to go out of their way, because the International Center is an excellent venue for a lot of things, but it's not. It's out of the way. It's it's in the airport area. If you're flying in for the expo and stuff like that, that's one thing because you got all the hotels nearby. But even if you're local, it's out of the way. You're going there specifically for an event, if that's what's going on, or a trade show or whatever it's going to be. So then you got to feel like it's worth your time. In this case, like I said, for me, the value ended up being the chance to kind of chat with some folks, network a little bit and everything. So that worked well. So I don't regret it. I was still able to get value out of it. And I was able to get the cards from Luke, and we chatted and hung out with Kevin, Luke, Sherry, Brad, and I got to talk to Steve Menzie and a couple of the folks from the expo and all that. So it was good. Still able to get some value out of it. So from your end, Brad, obviously you were able to hobnob and rub elbows with people. How did successful from that perspective as well?
Yeah, it was good because I had a bunch of Zoom calls today with HQ in the States, and we were talking about, obviously we had a price increase on Friday at PSA, and
scandalous.
Yeah, and I was I was like, oh boy, especially being under the weather. Like I had the flu bug on Wednesday.
And nobody put 2 and 2 together that just as the WWE Flawless cases come in, Brad Harlan's like, I'm going to need to raise those prices, guys.
Absolutely. So being that, I was kind of, we went up Friday because I couldn't change it. We were looking at some because I'm relocating to Toronto. So we were looking at condos, etc., trying to figure out everything, how it was going. So I couldn't cancel on that. Went there Friday, and then on Saturday, again, being under the weather, we have so many good customers, but I just thought, you know what, this is probably not going to be the most positive experience for me. But I put my PSA shirt on and I said, all right, let's just go out and face the wolves. And in all honesty, it was great. I talked to once I explained the reasons why behind certain things, everyone understood. Our dealer network was positive. Every customer that I talked to, nobody mentioned a thing about it in a negative light whatsoever. So I was very happy. So I appreciated all the kind words and support. I guess we'll put it that way. I thought I was going to get bombarded. Even Steve me all week.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So anyways, that's good. So that's behind us and everything's business as usual. And I can say that cards are flowing into PSA this weekend and today, Monday and today. And it's not slowing down. That's for sure.
Very nice. Very nice. I think it is going to be an interesting next couple of months. I was chatting with Brad a little bit about that. It's like I'm gonna get a lot of entertainment value, and I get to be on the front line, Steve. I'm gonna have my popcorn. It's like Brad's gonna be sitting there, and I'm just gonna be like,
"Oh yeah,
this is going great, going great. I'm here to support you, Brad. Moral support. I got you, buddy. I got you. Now I'll be cackling a little bit during part of it, but I will still be supporting you. The point is, I'll still be supporting. Super support.
I do. There's a couple things that I did want to point out. I'm not sure, but Jeff Bolton, a good customer of ours, he's okay, getting a little minor car accident, but he has some back issues. His wife was in today. Super nice guy. Anyways, hopefully, Jeff, you feel better. I don't know if Steve, if you were out there for that, but you know Jeff.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
He's the one, I believe, that got the Tyrannosaurus Rex card out of, was it Goodwin or Allen and Ginter or one of those things?
He did.
Still remember when he pulled it. He was so happy.
So I'm not sure if he does anyways, but fantastic guy. He's okay. He's making a band. And also one of my closest friends in the hobby since I was a kid and started in this, Winston, who's always in the chat. I'm not sure if he's in there tonight, but Winston had a health scare last week. Just some blood clots. We talked about it. So he's not going to make the show this weekend. But everybody I mentioned to, I told them, and our thoughts are going out to Winston for a speedy recovery, and he'll be back better than ever. And me and him can negotiate I'm going to say, hundreds of deals that we have done since my early teens. So I look forward to seeing Winston again. And I hope from all of us and everyone, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery and he's back no time at all.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think that's fair. So let me touch on here. Is there anything else that we want to make sure we touch on? Anything that comes to mind, Brad? Obviously, we touched on the CSC show a little bit, had some fun with that. Anything else that was notable?
This is kind of cool. Anyone out there might like to see this. Just when you like, if it's Gretzky rookies, if it's cards, you never know what's going to come through the door. And I looked at the submission center this morning, and I was like, and all of a sudden, somebody dropped off.
Wow.
Anyways, you never know. And this is somebody in Halifax that just a stack full of Crosby. Yeah, I just had those kicking around, which was fantastic. We had another customer came in today for PSA and picked up his order, and he was a guy worked for him, and he knew he had some rookie cards. Anyways, he had 5 Crosbys and 5 Ovechkins. He sent them all in for grading, and they came back, and he had 3 10 Crosbys, 2 9s, 2 10 Ovies, 3 9s. And what a little fight. I said, does the guy know how much these are worth? He was like, no, I don't think he really understands. And I said, well, you just turned your little box into about 40K.
That's when you should have introduced him to me.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So it was a very positive day on the PSA front.
Wow. Yeah, it is. That's to be the most enjoyable part of the hobby is when you think you've seen it all or something you haven't seen in a while, and then it's dropped in your lap. It's pretty neat.
Are you on mute, Carlos, or were you just melting?
Sorry, I was trying to make sure I was checking something in the corner. My apologies. I was going to say, based on what Steve was saying, the obvious play would have been like, do you like scallops? I know someone who likes scallops. We have much to discuss.
They'll be back. You know where we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what I was going to do is I'll quickly share this since we talked about it a little bit earlier. I already mentioned the card show and the trade night, so I'll quickly show. I was able to pull it up. That's why I always recommend everybody uses social medias. So I'm going to show this from the Facebook because it actually includes the dates of the next couple as well. So I'll always double check because it'll give you the information. So right there, there's the hours, 9 to 3, and then last Saturday of each month, generally speaking, it follows. And if you notice, it's got the next couple of dates as well. So it gives you all that in advance. It'll give you that information, and then the trade night is on the Friday. So it's all in the same mall, trade night in the store, card show is there. You know, I think it says over 120 tables, 50 plus dealers, which is pretty solid. So I think it works out. So all that information is there. If you want to check out the Facebook, the Instagram, the socials, we'll give you a lot of the information and the links, or you can go to the website. We include the info on there as well. And that's another connection point to get you all the info that you need for a lot of that stuff. And maybe a fancy schmancy WWE Flawless case gets open.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
It is going down.
It's going down. Yeah. Anyone that wants to come and watch or participate,
absolutely.
We might be able to price it like put a value on the first pick, second pick, all the way down to the 20th card. Yeah, has anyone ever done that before?
Well, I think for Flawless, you kind of have to do it that way. You gotta. I think there's hit drafts, hit breaks, and then there's character ones, of course. But the character ones you can't rely on that because with so few cards, you get 2 of one, and then somebody is stacked while everybody else is coming up empty. There's too many characters. They've got a lot of folks on the checklist. But I think basically you have to come up with the equitable way is to make something up and random number generated. Whatever it's going to be, you have to come up with some way of being like, whatever card number 1 is, and you have to figure out what card number 1 is, and then go from there.
Well, you could say like pick number 1 costs $1,000 or 1,500. Pick number 2 costs $1,000. So then you're 2,500 for the top 2 cards, and then you work your all the way down to like pick 20 might be $10. You just got to come up with the $6,000 that we got to pay old Steve. That's a good way to do it, though.
I'm glad I don't collect. You guys enjoy yourselves.
You're glad you stick to the scallops and people? Because,
Yes.
because this is right now, this is getting into very common.
I know.
But hopefully I think there'll be a big turnout, and it'll be fun for people to, because you do see the TikTok videos, some of them a little over the top when they start screaming at every card they pull. So I remember Brad screamed a little bit when he pulled that Matthews 101 shield there, but anyway, yeah, hopefully they'll contain themselves, but it'll be fun.
Oh, I'm not containing. I might even dress up for this. I might even come out the full Hogan.
I was going to say, you get the cosplay after the fact. Like,
absolutely.
That fascinating. Just fascinating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's do this. So, gentlemen, I want to let Steve go home, and at the same time, I'm going to chat with Brad for a couple minutes. But before I do, any last words or comments from the chat? Feel free to throw them in there. Brad, any last words? Since apparently this is going to be our last live for a while. Obviously, a lot of things are going on between Sherry's got a lot on her plate. You've got a lot on your plate. Basically, us figuring out which section of the Sky Dome you want to go for tickets because we're already working out plans as we speak.
Absolutely.
We're working it out. There's a lot of planning involved, so we'll be back down the road at some point. No definitive timeline. We won't promise anything we can't deliver. The channel will still be active in the sense that the podcast episodes are still going to continue because honestly, it's given us good value. It does give us a chance to break down some products and talk through some of the things and hopefully answer questions that you may have. Steve, one thing maybe we may do is if folks inside the store do have questions, sometimes we can bring some of those in and just share with the greater, especially if it's a good question. We can still share that with everybody and give everybody the information. So I think there's some value to that as well. And if there's any grading questions or anything, you can still give it to us and we can still, Brad can answer it, but then we can share it with you. We can still give that info. There are ways we can still make use out of it. And if there's like a fun break like this, the video may wind up on the YouTube channel. So there's still plenty of value to subscribe to it. Do so. Give us comments. Give us questions. That's the best way for us to find out what might be useful to you. Sound good? Perfect. Any last words then, Steve, to send us off? What's our sign out? What are we going to do?
Just know everything's just in a happy place right now. Everything's going well, and yeah, onward to bigger and better things, and yeah, everything's cool. Yeah.
Nice. So we got 2 questions here to finish up. So Gotham saying, how was the Pokemon Prismatic Day? So check out the podcast. Steve's talked specifically about that. That will be answered on the podcast episode tomorrow morning. That episode will drop tomorrow morning. We've already recorded it. It's ready to go. So we will answer that question, Gotham. You will get an answer to that question. Jeff here says, did you see the Paul Skeens debut patch was pulled? Yes.
I didn't see that.
So it has been pulled. Apparently, it was a kid. It was a kid in L.A. or something. I forget. Topps acknowledged it. Topps basically said that it had been pulled. I'll see if I can pull it up on their Instagram. Actually, let me see if I can find it real quick.
And it was a kid that pulled it too.
Apparently, well, that's the story they were given. So I'll include the messages here. But let me quickly see if I can pull it up. I think it's on the Topps account. Let me double check, and I will confirm.
And just I seen Rob Taylor made a little comment. Should be completely random. Okay, everyone pays the same. Well, I think that we just got a new joiner.
Yeah,
I feel like if Rob, I like to see this. He likes to make some comments. I think he could be your number 5.
Pretty easy when you're using someone else's money.
I love it.
That's how I do, though.
He's in. Rob is in.
Yeah. So here, I want to read these. Thank you to everybody who's continued to support us on the channel. Sorry I wasn't able to join tonight. So there's Sherry here, and I'm under the weather. So hopefully Sherry gets better. Let's wish Sherry good wishes to get better. Stay tuned and keep following our Wednesday drops and watch our social pages for bonus Blair videos. Yes. So that's why I mentioned already, Brad, that I was gonna elicit the work of bonus Blair to see if we could get him, because I still want the channel to have some cool stuff. The podcast obviously will give us some information and everything, but if there's opportunities, little things that happen around the store and everything, I want people who are subscribing to it to still be able to get some of that stuff. And there's little things we can do. You're muted. We can get little things like that to help to give everybody a little extra.
And the summer of 2025, I guess, or maybe the fall of 2025, when Carlos makes his visit to pound back Keiths all night with Steve down at the lower deck. Oh, yeah. We'll have a live podcast Friday night from trade night. Then we'll have lots of things in the works.
Oh, Steve, that's not a joke. That's not even a threat. Like at some point, I will go down there, because now I've been doing this and I've been doing it remotely. Now I got to go down there and I got to go personally quality check the Alexander Keiths beer coming out of the factory, because my university years had the odd bottle of Alexander Keiths.
Well, after spending 5 days with Sherry, it's not me you have to worry about when you come down here. So Brad warned me.
I told you.
I like Science Slab's angle. He's angling for a spot in the WWE Flawless break. I like that. Well played. Okay, so real quick, I've got the thing from the Topps account. So I'll quickly show it, and this will be the last thing before we sign out. So I'll show it to you real quick. So this is on Topps' Instagram account here. So right here it shows it's been pulled and the offer stands. So this is basically the Pittsburgh Pirates and Topps trying to make their angle for the season tickets and everything. But apparently it was an 11-year-old in California. So I don't think they're going to take you up on, a 30 years of Pirates season tickets. I don't think that offer's on the table. I think they're going to trade it for money. That's my opinion. We'll see what happens, but I think, Brad, they're going to go and take money. So here we go. Here's the official one that includes the image and everything, and more of the details. So all on the Topps Instagram account. So here, Paul Skeens 1/1 rookie debut patch has been pulled from an 11-year-old collector from Los Angeles, California. This is the card the Pirates have been offering, a package including 30 years of season tickets behind home plate. Bless the Pirates, but 30 years of Pirates season tickets. It is a nice package. They did include a nice package. I think the family is going to trade money for it. Maybe a spot in Brad's WB Flawless break. Maybe that would have enticed them a little bit more. But as it is, I don't think 30 years of Pirates season tickets is going to get the job done, my friends. I'm sorry.
Brad was a Pirates season ticket owner before.
I bought season tickets to the Pirates about, I'm going to say 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I paid $100 US, and I got a whole booklet of 80 tickets.
For $100 US, that kind of makes sense.
I bought them from a guy. He looked like a homeless guy on the side of the street, and he was selling tickets. And I paid him $100 US cash while we were on a bender in Pittsburgh. And I never used one of the tickets, and I can't find the damn booklet. I'll find it I know I still have it somewhere, but anyways, I thought it was a good investment to say I was a season ticket holder to the Pirates.
And that's why the kid should take the money, because he can buy his own Pirates tickets.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. Just for the record, I want you all to realize that at the very end of our, of our swan song, for now, down the road, we'd still like to do it because the lives are fun. Like, Brad can attest, we enjoy the lives; they're fun. But in the swan song, I want you to know the last story that we go out on is Brad on a bender in Pittsburgh buying season tickets from a homeless-looking man. Tickets to the Pittsburgh Pirates, of all things.
Absolutely.
I want you all to chew on that. And if you've got follow-up questions, we will address them on the following podcast. On the next podcast episode, if you have follow-up questions, ask them. Please ask them, and we'll be happy to address them. All right, so that's it. For Collectibles, Scallop, Collectibles People, Steve, thank you to Brad. Thank you to Sherry in the chat as well. Hopefully she feels better soon. And like I said, we'll be back down the road. We'll let you all know. But otherwise, we'll still be available to respond to things. And the podcast episodes will continue. Some bonus videos will be included there where we can. And otherwise, we'll keep things going. Otherwise, you can check out the social medias. That's where you get information, anything related to coming up. And also, if you've got questions that are more pertinent, reach out directly to the store. Operators are standing by. All right. Have yourselves a great night. We'll catch you in the next one down the road.